When life throws its hardest punches, when the road ahead feels steep and full of obstacles, what do? You may feel tempted to fight for control, to force your way through, to bend life to your will. But today, I want to remind you of something far more powerful. Put everything in God's hand. Let me tell you, there's peace in surrender. Not weakness, not giving up, but surrender. There is strength in saying, God, I trust you. I trust you more than my own plans, more than my own understanding, because when you put it in His hands, you place it in the hands of the one who created heaven and earth. You place it in the hands of the one who has never lost a battle. Some of you have been carrying the weight of your past for too long. You've been dragging around disappointment, shame, and regret. And you're tired. You're worn down from trying to fix it all by yourself. But listen to me closely. God never designed you to carry that burden alone. Give it to Him. The moment you hand over what you can't change, He steps in with power to do what only He can. Maybe you're in the middle of a storm right now. The winds of doubt and fear are raging, and you don't know if you'll make it through. But when you put your life in God's hands, you don't just survive the storm, you come out stronger. The winds that were meant to knock you down will lift you higher when God is in control. Sometimes putting everything in His hands means waiting, and we hate waiting, don't we? We want quick answers, instant results, but God's delays are not His denials. Just because you don't see it now doesn't mean He's not working. He's preparing the ground for your breakthrough. Don't dig up what you planted just because it hasn't bloomed yet. Trust that His timing is perfect. He's struggling with worry. Hand it over. Worry is the thief of peace. It will keep you up at night, pacing the floor, replaying every worst-case scenario in your mind. But worry never solves anything. What it does is keep you from seeing God's hand in your life. When you release worry, you make room for faith, and faith allows God to do the miraculous. And here's the truth. Putting everything in God's hands doesn't mean life will be free of problems. No, the storms may still come, but it does mean you don't have to carry it alone. It means that no matter what comes, you have the assurance that God is working it all together for your good. If there's one thing you take away from today, let it be this. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to fight every battle on your own. Put it in God's hands and trust Him to work it out. There is no safer place than in the hands of the Almighty. His hands are steady. His hands are faithful. His hands are filled with love, grace, and power beyond our understanding. So, let go of control. Step out of fear and step into the peace that comes when you trust Him fully. Your victory is not found in what you hold on to. It's found in what you're willing to let go of and place in the hands of God. When life feels chaotic, when the world seems to be spinning in a direction you didn't plan for, it's easy to question everything. You may ask, why is this happening? Why didn't things go the way I wanted them to? But here's the thing. God's plan is bigger, wiser, and more purposeful than anything we could ever imagine. Trusting in God's plan is not about having all the answers. It's about walking in faith, even when the path ahead isn't clear. Think about it. God doesn't just see the present moment. He sees the whole picture. He knows where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. And while we may only see a small piece of the puzzle, God sees the masterpiece He's creating. He knows what's best for you, even when you can't see it for yourself. Sometimes the plan doesn't make sense. You pray for one thing, and the answer seems to be delayed or doesn't come in the form you expected. You face detours, obstacles, and closed doors. But every detour has a purpose. Every no is a setup for a better yes. God doesn't waste anything. The closed doors are protecting you from what wasn't meant for you, and the delays are preparing you for something greater. You might think, I had it all figured out. I had my timeline, I had my goals. But what if God's plan is far better than yours? What if the job you didn't get was making room for the dream job you didn't even know you wanted? What if the relationship that ended was leading you to someone who would treat you with the love and respect you deserve? What if the setback was really a setup for a major comeback? Trusting in God's plan doesn't mean you won't have moments of doubt. It doesn't mean life will be free from pain or disappointment, but it does mean you can find peace in the middle of uncertainty. It means that when things go off course, you don't have to crumble. You can stand firm, knowing that God's plan is still unfolding. Sometimes, God's plan takes you through the valley. It's dark. It's lonely. You feel like giving up. But don't. The valley is where strength is built. The valley is where you learn to trust Him on a deeper level. And when you come out on the other side, you'll realize that the valley was part of the process to get you to the mountaintop. Trust is active. It's waking up every day and choosing to say, God, I don't know what today holds, but I know you hold me. It's making the decision to stop worrying and start believing that He's working behind the scenes. Trusting in God's plan is not a one-time choice. It's a daily commitment to walk by faith, not by sight. When you trust God's plan, you're not giving up control. You're giving control to the one who can do far more than you ever could. You're saying, God, I trust that your ways are higher than mine. I trust that you are faithful. I trust that you are for me, not against me. And that kind of trust, that's where peace, joy, and victory are found. Surrendering control is one of the hardest things we can do. We're taught from a young age to take charge, to plan every step, to make things happen on our own. But what happens when life doesn't go according to that plan? What happens when, despite all your best efforts, things still fall apart? That's when the real challenge begins. The challenge to let go and trust God with what you can't control. Surrendering control doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It doesn't mean you stop working hard or stop pursuing your goals. It means recognizing the limits of your power and placing the outcomes in God's hands. You do your part, but you let Him take care of the rest. It's acknowledging that some battles are not meant to be fought by you alone. They're meant to be handed over to the one who never loses. We often want to control every aspect of life because we think it gives us security. But the truth is, control is just an illusion. There will always be things beyond our reach, circumstances we can't change, people we can't fix, outcomes we can't guarantee. The more we hold on tightly, the more we wear ourselves out. It's exhausting trying to manage everything, and that's why God calls us to surrender, not because He wants to take something from us, but because He wants to give us peace in exchange. When you surrender control, you're not saying, I give up. You're saying, God, I trust that your way is better than mine. I trust that you can see what I can't see. I trust that you know what's best for me, even when I don't understand. It's a decision to stop striving and start trusting, to stop wrestling and start resting in His promises. There's freedom in surrender. Imagine holding a rope tightly, trying to keep something from slipping away. The tighter you grip, the more your hands hurt. The strain becomes unbearable. But the moment you let go, the pain begins to ease. That's what surrender feels like. It's the relief of knowing that you don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. God's got it. Sometimes we think, if I just work a little harder, I can make it happen. Or if I just say the right thing, I can fix this relationship. But surrender is about realizing that control doesn't guarantee success. Only God's grace does. It's about shifting your focus from what you can do to what He can do. And let me tell you, what He can do is far greater than anything you could ever imagine. When you surrender control, you make room for God to move. You step out of the way and allow Him to open doors you couldn't open on your own. You give Him the space to bring blessings, breakthroughs, and miracles that were never part of your plan but are exactly what you needed. Letting go is scary, it's vulnerable, but it's also powerful. Because when you surrender, you're not falling into emptiness. You're falling into the arms of a loving God who will catch you every time. His hands are steady, His hands are sure, and His hands are capable of carrying whatever you've been holding on to. So stop trying to control every detail. Stop overthinking, overanalyzing, and stressing about what's next. Surrender it all. The worry, the fear, the uncertainty. Put it in God's hands and watch what happens. You'll find peace. You'll find strength. And you'll find that when you let go, He takes control in ways that are far beyond anything you could ever ask for or imagine. Faith in the storm is not about denying the storm's existence. It's about standing firm in the middle of it, knowing you are not alone. Life's storms come in many forms. Unexpected challenges, heartbreak, financial struggles, health crises, or moments when everything you worked for seems to fall apart. In those moments, fear wants to take control. Fear tells you the storm will overwhelm you. But faith says, even in this, God is with me. When the wind is howling and the waves are crashing around you, faith doesn't mean you won't feel the pressure. It doesn't mean the storm won't test you. But it does mean you know who's in control of the storm. And that makes all the difference. Remember, the same God who calmed the sea with a word can calm your heart in the middle of life's chaos. Storms are uncomfortable because they disrupt our plans. They remind us how fragile life can be. But storms are also where faith grows. You don't need faith when everything is going perfectly. You need faith when the foundation is shaking and you can't see how things will work out. It's in those moments that faith becomes real. When you choose to trust God, even though everything around you says otherwise. Think of a tree in a storm. The winds may bend its branches, but the roots grow stronger as the tree holds its ground. That's what happens to your faith in the storm. Every gust of wind, every downpour, every challenge is an opportunity to dig your roots deeper into God's promises. Faith doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. It doesn't mean you won't have moments of doubt. But faith says, I'm scared, but I'm still trusting God. Faith is holding on when it feels like the storm will never end. It's the quiet confidence that, even if you don't see a way, God is already making one. Sometimes we pray for God to stop the storm, but instead, He strengthens us to walk through it. That's because the storm isn't just a test, it's also a teacher. It teaches you resilience, it teaches you patience. It teaches you that even when everything else is stripped away, God's presence is enough. Look at the storms you've already survived. You thought they would break you, but they didn't. You thought you'd be lost, but here you are. Those storms weren't wasted. They were building your faith for the next challenge. And if God was faithful then, He'll be faithful now. Faith in the storm is a declaration, I will not be shaken. It's saying, even if the winds don't stop, I trust God to hold me steady. It's knowing that the storm doesn't have the final word. God does, and His word is one of hope, strength, and victory. When the storm is at its fiercest, remember this: storms don't last forever. The rain will stop, the clouds will clear, and when they do, you'll come out stronger, wiser, and more grounded in your faith than ever before. Keep holding on. Keep trusting. The one who controls the storm is working on your behalf, and he will see you through. Worry is a heavy burden. It weighs down your heart, steals your peace, and clouds your mind. You lie awake at night, turning over every possible outcome in your head, as if worrying hard enough will change something. But the truth is, worry doesn't change your situation. It only changes you. It drains your energy and robs you of the joy that's meant for today. That's why it's so important to release worry and put it in God's hands. When you hold on to worry, you're trying to control the uncontrollable. You're trying to figure out every solution on your own, but life doesn't work that way. There are things you can't predict and outcomes you can't control. Worry may feel like a way to stay prepared, but all it really does is exhaust you. It keeps you trapped in a cycle of fear and anxiety, preventing you from stepping into the peace God offers. Releasing worry doesn't mean pretending the problem doesn't exist. It means acknowledging the problem, but choosing not to let it control you. It's saying, yes, this situation is hard, but I refuse to be consumed by it. I refuse to let worry steal my hope. It's shifting the weight of the burden off your shoulders and onto the one who is strong enough to carry it. Think about it. God knows your every need. He knows every detail of your life, every challenge you're facing, and every fear that's keeping you up at night. And He's not indifferent. He cares deeply. He invites you to cast all your worries onto Him because He loves you. He doesn't want you carrying something that was never meant for you. Worry often comes from fear, fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of loss. But when you release worry, you make room for faith to step in. Faith doesn't eliminate the challenges, but it changes how you face them. It reminds you that no matter how uncertain things feel, God is in control. And when God is in control, you can rest in His promises. Worry asks, what if everything falls apart? But faith declares, even if things don't go as planned, God will work it out for my good. Worry tries to keep you focused on the problem, but faith lifts your eyes to the one who holds the solution. When you release worry, you're choosing peace over panic. You're choosing trust over fear. You're choosing to believe that God's plan is bigger and better than anything you could ever imagine. And with that choice comes freedom. The freedom to live without the constant weight of anxiety pressing down on you. It's not always easy to release worry. Sometimes you have to release it over and over again. Every time the fear creeps back in, you have to remind yourself, this is not mine to carry. I've given it to God. And as you do that, the grip of worry loosens and peace takes its place. Life will always have uncertainties, but you don't have to navigate them alone. Hand your worries over to God. Trust Him with the details. Let go of what you can't control and watch as His peace, which surpasses all understanding, guards your heart and mind. The more you release worry, the more you make room for the life of freedom, joy, and hope that He has for you. Letting God work is about stepping back and making space for His power to move in your life. Too often, we try to take matters into our own hands. We want to fix the situation, solve the problem, or force the outcome. We think if we just push a little harder or plan a little better, we'll make things happen. But sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is stop striving and let God take over. Letting God work doesn't mean you sit idly by doing nothing. It means you focus on what you can do, walking in obedience, staying in faith, and trusting His timing, while leaving the results up to Him. It's about surrendering control and acknowledging that God's wisdom is far greater than ours. He knows what we need, when we need it, and how to bring it about in ways we could never imagine. When you try to force things, you may miss out on the blessings God is preparing behind the scenes. He may have something better waiting for you, a door you haven't even thought to knock on yet, an opportunity you didn't see coming. But if you're too busy trying to kick down a closed door, you won't see the one He's opened just around the corner. Sometimes letting God work means waiting, and waiting can be hard. It can feel like nothing is happening, like your prayers are going unanswered. But just because you don't see immediate results doesn't mean God isn't moving. He's orchestrating things in ways you can't see. He's aligning people, circumstances, and opportunities for your good. Trust that His delays are not denials. They're part of His perfect plan. Letting God work also means letting go of your need for instant gratification. We live in a world that wants everything right now, but God's best often takes time. It's like planting a seed. You don't see the harvest the moment you put the seed in the ground. It takes time to grow. And while you may not see what's happening beneath the surface, God is doing a work in you and your circumstances that will bear fruit in due season. One of the hardest parts of letting God work is giving up the desire to control the outcome. You may have a vision for how things should turn out. You may have your own timeline, but God's ways are higher than our ways, and His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. What He has planned is often far greater than anything we could dream up on our own. When you release your grip on the outcome, you make room for His best to unfold. Letting God work also means trusting Him with the battles you can't fight on your own. There are some battles that are simply too big for you, but they're never too big for God. When you step aside and let Him fight for you, you'll see victories that only He can bring. He'll move mountains you couldn't move on your own. He'll make a way where there was no way. And here's the beautiful thing. When you let God work, you don't just see results, you experience peace. You stop worrying about how everything will turn out because you know the one who holds the outcome in His hands. You can rest, knowing that He is faithful and that He always works things together for the good of those who love Him. So take your hands off what you've been gripping so tightly. Stop trying to fix it all by yourself. Let God work. Let Him move in His time and in His way. And watch as He does exceedingly, abundantly, more than all you could ask or imagine. Trust Him to do what only He can do, and you'll find peace, strength, and blessings beyond anything you ever thought possible. Living in peace doesn't mean living without challenges, difficult people, or setbacks. It means finding a deep, steady calm in the midst of life's chaos, a peace that comes not from your circumstances, but from knowing who holds your life in His hands. True peace is not something the world can give you, and it's not something the world can take away. It's a gift that God offers, and it's up to you to receive it. To live in peace, you first have to stop fighting battles that aren't yours to fight. Too often we spend our energy trying to prove our point, defend our reputation, or fix every little problem that comes our way. But peace comes when you realize that you don't have to engage in every argument or solve every issue. Some things are best left to God. He is your protector, your provider, and your defender. When you trust Him with the things you can't control, you free yourself to live with a lighter heart. Living in peace means learning to let go of the past. You can't change what's already happened. Holding on to regrets, grudges, or old wounds only keeps you bound. Forgiveness is a key to peace, not just forgiving others, but also forgiving yourself. When you release the weight of past mistakes or disappointments, you open the door for peace to flow into your life. Another part of living in peace is letting go of worry about the future. Worrying doesn't add a single hour to your life, it only robs you of the present moment. Trust that God is already in your tomorrow, preparing the way for you. He's working behind the scenes in ways you can't see. When you rest in that truth, you stop living in anxiety and start living in peace. Living in peace also means setting boundaries for your mind. Your thoughts are powerful. If you allow negativity, fear, or comparison to take root, they'll steal your peace. Instead, choose to fill your mind with thoughts that are true, noble, and life-giving. Remind yourself of God's promises. Meditate on His faithfulness. Shift your focus from the problem to the one who has the solution. It's also important to choose peace in your relationships. Not every relationship will be easy, but you can choose how you respond. You don't have to react to every insult or criticism. You don't have to let toxic people pull you into their chaos. Sometimes the best response is silence. Sometimes walking away is the most peaceful thing you can do. Seek harmony where you can, but when it's not possible, protect your peace by trusting God to handle what you can. Living in peace doesn't mean life will be perfect. Storms will come and challenges will arise. But peace is knowing that even in the storm, you are anchored to something unshakable. It's the quiet confidence that no matter what happens, God is with you, for you, and working on your behalf. Choose to release what's beyond your control. Let go of fear and frustration. Make peace a priority in your thoughts, your actions, and your relationships. Trust God's plan for your life and rest in His promises. When you do, you'll find that peace isn't something you have to chase. It's something that will naturally fill your life, and once you have it, no one can take it from you. In conclusion, putting everything in God's hands is not a sign of weakness. It's a demonstration of trust, faith, and surrender. It's a decision to release the weight of worry, the need for control, and the fear of the unknown. When you place your life in His hands, you're placing it in the hands of the one who formed you, who knows every detail of your story, and who has plans for you that are good. Trusting in God's plan means embracing uncertainty with confidence, knowing that even when the path isn't clear, the destination is secure. When storms arise, and they will, faith reminds you that you are never alone. You may be in the storm, but the one who calms the seas is walking with you every step of the way. Releasing worry doesn't mean your problems magically disappear. It means those problems lose their power to control your peace. The moment you choose to hand your burdens to God, peace begins to take root in your heart. You realize that His strength is made perfect in your weakness, and that He is always working behind the scenes for your good. Letting God work in your life is about loosening your grip and stepping aside to let Him take over. His timing may not match yours, and His methods may not look like what you expected. But when you let God work, you allow space for miracles, breakthroughs, and blessings beyond what you could have imagined. Living in peace is the result of putting your trust in God. It's the quiet assurance that no matter what life throws your way, you are anchored in the one who never changes. It's the freedom of knowing that you don't have to fight every battle, fix every problem, or prove yourself to anyone. It's the joy of resting in His promises and walking in His grace every day. So, take that step today. Place everything, your hopes, your fears, your plans, and your struggles, in God's hands. Trust Him with the outcome, even when it's not what you envisioned. Rest in the knowledge that He is for you, He is with you, and He is working all things together for your good. When you put everything in His hands, you'll find that peace, strength, and purpose will fill your life like never before. And once you've experienced that, There's no going back. Choose to live in the freedom that comes when you let go and let God.